Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day I bid to each and every fellow viewers out there. So for today's presentation, my group and I, which is group 1, we will be representing a topic regarding e-learning versus classroom learning. So without further ado, let us jump into the introduction. So what is our general purpose of this whole presentation? So what we are here today is to contrast and also to analyze the so-called topic in order to provide a very clear and also contrast statements from both perspectives in order for listeners to be able to analyze and also to evaluate their own thoughts regarding this whole topic. So what is our central idea? Okay, our central idea is that e-learning versus classroom learning has been a very controversial topic in most discussions. So we thought that specifically this has been going on amongst people at schools and also universities. Hence, why has it led to something very serious? That is why there are several highlighted elements that we have put into this whole discussion, such as questions that may sound like, is e-learning, or should we call this online classrooms? Is it a way better classroom modality in this era? Or why is this a very crucial topic when everyone is actually facing the same situation at school? That is why the idea of both modes of learning is now implemented based on current world issues. Hence, e-learning versus classroom learning has been a very debatable topic that has a wide range of perspectives, both good and also bad. So without further ado, for the first point, I will be sharing you guys my main point, which is the medium of instructions. So most might wonder, is e-learning a way better classroom modality in this era? Or is it the other way around? Because based on research conducted, I can conclude that a growing number of students are now actually opting for online classes as they find the traditional classroom modality to be more restrictive, quite inflexible, and also very impractical. Moreover, the advent of online education has made it possible for students with busier lives and also limited flexibility to actually obtain a higher quality education, which, opposed to the traditional classroom teaching, a web-based instruction has actually made it possible to offer classes worldwide through a single internet connection. Although it actually boasts several advantages over traditional education, online education still has its drawbacks, including limited communal synergies. Yet, online education seems to be the path that many students are taking to actually secure their own degree. So, as we all know, computer-assisted instruction, it has changed the pedagogical landscape since there has been an increasing number of students that are seeking online education, as well as universities that are now touting the efficiency of web-based education. Hence, they have been rapidly implementing online classes to meet study needs worldwide, not just Malaysia. And also a study actually reported by Lundberg in 2008, which stated that there has been increase in the number of online courses given by university. That has been quite dramatic over the past couple of years. And from Karamidas, he stated in 2012, where it is reported in 2010, the Sloan Consortium has found a 17% increase in online students from the years before, beating the 12 years increase from the previous years. So, in this age of technological advancement, online education is not a new phenomenon, which is somehow contrary to popular beliefs, as schools nowadays can provide effective classroom teaching via web. And also this so-called shift in pedagogical medium is actually forcing all academic institutions to actually rethink how they want to deliver their course content. And this overarching purpose of this research was actually to determine which teaching method can be proven more effective over the past few years. And based on my own self-study research, I have seen that professors, they have been delivering lectures verbally, whereby some might use visual aids or maybe PowerPoint presentations, as well as other wide ranges of tools that we have, including videos, graphs, presentation, and also various other visuals in order to deliver clear instructions to students. However, the traditional classrooms require physical presence of both teacher and students. That is why e-learning versus classroom learning has this one other aspect that we need to closely monitor on, which is the medium actually monitors student progress. And in traditional setup, most tracking is done manually, hence verbal instructions are given. And also, online learners are tracked by a system called LMS, which is Learning Management System. And here we can actually clearly deduce that it is very, very difficult to monitor learners in a virtual environment, as they could be attending lectures online while probably listening to music or maybe playing games. Whereas these things are actually very, very difficult to occur in a traditional classrooms due to physical presence of both. We wouldn't want to play games or maybe listening to music while the teacher is around, wouldn't we? So there has been studies conducted, and this one specific study that I have done a small research on, which is by comparing the effectiveness of online versus traditional instruction in an environmental student class. These were done in a specific university where the students are of environmental studies. And with this as an indicator, we will be able to see whether students' performance can be affected by a switch of instructional medium or not. So specifically, this study is actually sought to compare online and also traditional teaching based on 3 different levels that will be including pure modality, gender, and also class rank, where this method will be able to deduce whether one teaching modality is significantly more effective than the other or not. So based on Moses, Carnell, and Gold in 2019, they have been making this one study with limitation that needs to be considered in the study. However, the examination conducted was actually sufficient to provide us additional measures to determine whether students perform better in one environment over another, as methods, procedures, operationalization tools that are all used in this assessment can be actually expanded upon in future quantitatives, and mixed method designs can actually apply for further analysis. So as you can see here, I have displayed a table 1 which shows the environmental students data set, where it includes the face-to-face sections and also online sections with both genders of men and women. And also from table 2, it shows a contingency table where it displays students' academic performance throughout the study. And for table 3, it displays the genders' performance cross-tabulation for be displayed to fellow viewers based on the studies that has been conducted by them. And this to conclude, this actually shows the scores of 548 students, with having 401 of them will undergo a traditional class, whereas 147 students will be undergoing online classes. And these studies actually were tested to determine which instructional modality generates better students' performance, having a score variability including genders, classifications in order for us to determine if this teaching modality has a greater impact on specific groups or not. So, as I have stated before, there is no significant difference in student performance between e-learning and traditional classrooms. And this data actually demonstrates the potential that exists for an increasing number of majors to use the flexibility of online learning, and also how we specify in this discussion, e-learning. So, all in all, online and traditional education actually share many qualities, and students are still required to attend class. It's just that they still need to learn provided materials, assignments need to be submitted on time, and also group projects need to be completed. Same goes to teachers, where they still have to design curriculums and also maximize their instructional qualities. Despite these basic similarities, there are actually dozens of differences between two modalities as well. Specifically, classroom instruction is known to be teacher-centered and also requires a passive learning by the students, whereas online instruction, it is often student-centered and it requires active learning instead. Hence, the advantages and also disadvantages of both instructional modalities need to be fully fleshed out and also examined, and both modalities have been proven to be relatively effective. So, what I can recommend is that students who are still unable to cope with pedagogical changes, you could start small with recommended by watching simple lectures via YouTube, since 90% of the videos are quite easily accessible. For instance, how to speak Mandarin for beginners. So from that, we slowly learn and sort out the so-called problem that has been going on amongst students. So that is all from me. Thank you so much for listening. I shall pass this next idea to Ramiza.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Ramiza binti Rahim. I'm gonna talk about the student-teachers interaction in e-classroom versus classroom learning. Okay, firstly, I will talk about the student-teacher interaction. Student-teacher interaction is one of the most important factors impacting students in their learning achievement. In classroom learning, most of the teacher-student engagement takes place in the classroom, whereas remote learning interaction takes place via email, WhatsApp, synchronous sessions, and so on. According to various research, this complicates the interaction. Why? Many of the verbal and non-verbal signs that assist information in classroom learning by face-to-face context, such as body language, intonation of speech, and our facial expressions, that do not exist in e-learning situation. It is very hard to achieve that. There is a study by Khalil, 2020, found that during the COVID-19 pandemic, the lack of non-verbal communication between teachers and students was described as one of the most main challenges for students, where one of them said that even though I managed to cope up with the e-learning, but they desperately miss body language on how to do eye contact with their teachers. They miss active interactive sessions like team-based learning sessions, peer instruction skills, and discussion among students. They said that they prefer to study within campus. Me too. In classroom learning, students' facial expression reflect their comprehension of the material. So the teachers know whether their students understand or not on what they have been taught about. Okay. E-classroom can be less effective than classroom learning when there are no face-to-face interaction that can affect students' motivation for learning. Studies on e-learning have shown that student-teacher connection is important for effective learning and academic performance in remote learning. Quality and interaction between student and teachers are the factors for student satisfaction. The student will feel satisfied when the teachers complete what they need, and the teachers will feel the same too, and effectiveness of learning can be achieved when interacting with the teachers, and it is also can be improved. Okay, we move on to the next explanation. Various studies have sought to characterize the various sorts of student-teacher interactions that are required for optimal learning. The tie formed between student and teachers, which serve as the foundation for secure, successful, and beneficial relationships. In this interaction, there must be something to be offered. I mean for students to excel in university, such as having teachers setting clear expectations, the teachers know on what to target on their students, answering email promptly when the students been asking questions and needed reply from them. Majority of the students prefer their teachers to engage in interpersonal communication and emotional engagement. In e-learning, students expect lecturers to pay more personal attention to them, convey emotions, be honest and more amusing, and also provide personal feedback from time to time. This kind of interactions is a student's basic physiological need. So basically for me, I think that this kind of treatment are needed for us. And it was claimed that an environment that supports the learner's basic physiological needs can contribute of the socialization of values, actions and belief, as well as that improve the student's self-regulation when learning. Students' interpersonal ties with their teachers must be balanced and not exceed a particular limit. There was a sentence that I found that the relationship need to be balanced. Yes, basically the relationship between students and teachers relationship need to be balanced on to make it successful in both parties. Interaction with the learning material itself demonstrated that ongoing evaluation of students' performance and fast feedback paired with individual support aids students' success in remote learning. Okay, I will explain more regarding a table data that I've gotten. Based on the table 1 that you see, a survey was carried out at the end of 2020 when the pandemic started to risen up after one semester of distance learning during the COVID-19 pandemic, in which classes took place synchronously on many platforms such as Google Meet, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and some more, were accompanied by asynchronous tasks or recordings. There are so many tasks and recording being so many of them being compiled together. The goal of the survey was to examine the students' view on distance learning. The survey was available on the internet for 2 weeks, during which the participant could anonymously enter their answers. No such thing as the participant have been forced to answer it. It was voluntary. The participants were aware that the survey would be used to improve their teaching in their college to research distance learning in an emergency situation caused by COVID-19. The survey was carried out in the digital Google form and consisted of 4 close-ended multiple choice questions about the issues. The participants in the study were 591 in total, undergraduate students from different departments such as education, special education, mathematics, science, geography, history, civil studies, Bible studies, English, linguistics and communication in one teaching college. There was so many people. Out of 1,300 students who received the survey, the participants were 205 for men, 35% of it are men. 387 women, 65% of it are women. And the average age was 25.67. The participants all belong to a predefined group of BA students studying education at the same institution of higher education who had learned from a distance during an emergency situation after learning in a standard face-to-face setting beforehand. The question about teacher-student interaction was selected based on studies that indicate the importance of this type of interaction learning in general. The study analysed that they received 591 answers received to the open-ended questions about the quality of interaction with the teacher. There were so many responses that they have gotten. However, there are several strategies that can be implemented to promote classroom interaction among students and teachers. I will give suggestion and several strategies regarding to promote more classroom learning after the COVID-19 breaks down. Okay, first of all, the first one is by improving questioning strategies where the attention of the teacher to the learners can activate the teacher-learner interaction. So, student and teacher need to be more active. More active than before. The teacher should ask questions that can be answered by the learners, the students. Then the teachers adapt the question to the levels or abilities of the students. Okay, the next point is implementing cooperative learning. Working cooperatively can help development of the students' social skill, which is very important for the student after they ended their school sessions. When they graduate, they need the social skills. Cooperative learning means that every member of the group is included and differences among group members are resolved by the group members. And the last point is reducing classroom anxiety. Why would I say that it could be improved by that? The teacher helps the students to boost their self-esteem and self-confidence and create comfortable and non-threatening environment. So basically that's the end, and I am suggesting, in my opinion, I myself would choose to be in classroom learning rather than e-learning because classroom learning is more convenient rather than e-learning, because e-learning would suffocate more students more. So I think classroom learning is much better than e-learning. Okay, so that's all. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Amirul Hakim bin Mahmud and my ID metric is 2022908113. And my opinion is enhance critical thinking and social skills. The first is enhance critical thinking. For my opinion, learning in a classroom will help to improve critical thinking skills and improve social skills among the students, as it is a common course in a college and university setting today. Critical thinking itself is a way to improve thinking, to solve a problem, or to embrace another perspective of thinking, and it is a good reason why that learning in a classroom can change one's way of thinking. Critical thinking, it has a lot of advantage to students. Some of it is to create creative mind, which will make the student to think outside of the box or out of ordinary ideas. As in career, it could be an advantage for the student to secure the place in company and their chosen role. Classroom provide the student the environment and the field to learn the syllabus or the subject. They will try to think harder and will make them curious about something they learn and will try to find it. Thus, enhance their critical thinking skills as they engage in live discussion to form an opinion or argument. This is because in the classroom, students will be forced to be in the discussion and will eventually help them to think critically. Critical thinking also can improve presentation, expertise, and language. When the student works on developing critical thinking, it will improve the ability to express ideas efficiently. While learning the inspect the structure of text logically, it improves the comprehension ability as well. Critical thinking can help in improving grade and achievement. When the student improve their critical thinking, they also show improvement in academic performance. The students are able to connect theory that they had been learning practically and that improve the overall knowledge that they are able to understand and critique, which will help in deeper understanding that will be evident in the grades. Next, critical thinking help in understanding the views and perspective of others, as well as enhancing ability to work in a team. For example, the team activity that have to be done with school students need listening to the other for completing the given task, rather than just doing it alone. This help the student to learn that there is numerous of possible solutions to a single problem and allow them to work together while agreeing on one and make them think harder that will develop critical thinking for them to cooperate and not take decision or assumption. Next is social skills. Social skills that can be improved in the classroom because of interaction between the student and the classmate. Also, the interaction between the student and lecturer. Social skill does not just make the student better or overcome shyness when talking to others. Social skills can also be improved by social skills can also improve cooperative teamwork because of the better communication which they can hear clearly and understand what our opinion or idea that we have been given. Social skills also boost student confidence to approach others. Hence, this will expand their network as it will become a lot of opportunity to them in the future. Social skills are important because of conflict resolutions, which is to understand what are the source of the problem and find the workable solution when there is a disagreement and dissatisfaction situation. These skills are important for the student as they will be a leader or worker for their company. There are also significant meta-analysis that conducted by the Collaborative for Academic, Social and Emotional Learning, which has shown that the student who has social skills has more positive attitude about school and improve an average of 11 percentile points on the standardized achievement test compared to other students without the interaction. Good relationship with others are also the importance of social skills, which will help to tone down the negative effect of stress in the classroom, and this will also improve happiness while providing a better outlook on life. The skills cannot be obtained effectively when online learning. This is because the student will tend to mute their mic while attend the class, and some of them are not even focused and paying attention when attending the class, and that might affect their thinking, and the class will become less interaction between the people, the student, and the lecturer, as is a one-way situation that the lecturer is the only one talking with no one participating in the discussion. So that's all from me. Thank you and Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, I am going to talk and to tell you about the cost base in online learning as compared to physical classes. Let me first clarify that both of these learning methods have their own pros and cons. Before I jump into how e-learning helps students learn at their own pace and is learning at students' own pace better, I like to explain a little about the point that I choose. Right. So, what is self-paced learning? According to a study done by Romero Bautista from Philippines, self-paced learning is a kind of instruction that proceeds based on the learner's ability. It is constructed in such way that learners proceed from a topic to the next topic at their own speed, and that pretty much helps you to have uh, an overview on my whole discussion. Am I right? Right. So we move to the next slide. Right. Now, I believe not many know where did the first ever completely online learning course was offered. Of course, since COVID-19 struck, all students have been forced to do online learning and hence needed to study at their own pace. But do you know this online learning course is not something new? This method of learning has started at the University of Toronto in 1984. Due to individual differences, some learners are not able to completely understand a topic, but there is actually a method that has been introduced in 1984 to help learners complete the course according to their own will, and they can take as much time as they require. This helps students to avoid feeling pressure and only focus on their pace. And students are not constrained by the collective pace of the class. However, in e-learning, those who are fast learners tend to leave those who are considered as slow learners behind, right? Right. So this will lead to a feeling of isolation. Studies show that feeling of isolation was a huge stress factor that prompted students to drop out. Right. So, so let's move on to why learning at students' own pace is important. During self-study, students learn at their own pace, focusing more on areas that interest them the most or that which they understand better. This helps reduce feelings of frustration, anxiety, boredom that students may struggle with. Students who self-learn have more opportunities to control their learning with better insights of the topics. By monitoring the learning pace, students will become more confident. This will boost their self-esteem and helps them to try and master new skills. And of course, with the pros come the cons. While self-learning, students are most likely to only study the subjects or the topics they have most interest on. So, what about the subject that are not that interesting to them? So, okay, so students will have to struggle to be motivated to study these subjects, which will eventually cause stress to them. While in classroom learning, students have no choice but to focus on each topic since they will not be able to catch up as they are influenced to focus, or we can call it peer pressure. Right. Let's take a look at let's take a look at help how e-learning help students to study at their own pace. Right. And whether it is better than to be constrained by the collective pace of the class. Right. This online learning might improve students' productivity by using resources such as internet, books. For example, if students can catch up on topics that were discussed by a lecturer during an online meeting, they can go on the internet such as YouTube to learn more on the topics, because in this era the internet serves not just as a teacher but as an entire library in itself. To conclude, e-learning helps students to study at their own pace. However, there were advantages and disadvantages of it. Alright, that's all from me. Thank you for listening to my discussion.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Izzati binti Syahminan, and today I will continue the discussion of our group topics, which is e-learning versus classroom learning. I think both methods of learning can contribute to personality development. So what is personality development? Personal development can be defined as the process of improving our skills and also increasing the amount of experiences in ourselves. There are 4 factors that influence our personality, which are physical environment, heredity, experiences, and culture. For e-learning and classroom learning, both of them can be classified as physical environment and also experiences. So this is because both of method in learning will give different physical environment and also different experiences for the students. So I will discuss about physical environment first. Researchers discovered that employees working in environment devoid of pictures, plants, souvenirs, and other were 15% less productive than those who are working with such distraction. This is also can be applied in the educational context, which is students who do not have a conducive learning environment will suffer in terms of learning performance and mental health. So, for e-learning, the environment can be customized. So, students can customize their learning area or their study area to create a calm and comfortable surrounding in order to make them more focused during online classes. For instance, windows need to be open so that the room will have a better ventilation. This also can improve one's focus while studying so that they can avoid from getting distraction. Other than that, students can undergo self-regulated learning through online classes. Self-regulated learning, also we can call as SRL, refers to the motivational and behavioral elements that indicate the learner is an active participant in the learning process. This process are what cause learners to invest their thoughts, emotions, and action in improving their performance and achieving their learning goals. If the student did not practice SRL, they will drift out from their studies. For instance, having a higher tendency to sleep or playing games. For classroom learning, the environment in classroom, as we know, is a blend of the social, emotional, and also instructional elements of the class. Basically, classroom learning is more effective because the environment is more suitable than our precious bedroom. In terms of the amount of distraction we get, for example, in classroom, we can avoid family's distraction distraction, such as being told to doing chores during class sessions. I've experienced that before. Next, students also regularly will practice disciplinary skills due to the presence of teachers. As a result, students will be able to manage their daily schedule as easy as ABC. Next, I will discuss or elaborate more about experiences. For e-learning, we can develop our computer skill, which is the key component in today's digital age. Students learn skills such as sending emails, creating word presentation, documents, and others. We will be exposed to the modern technologies that will help us achieve success in college when we are utilized for processing and presenting information. Then, we also can achieve all these things by only we are willing to do that and be diligent. That means we need to show that we really care about our studies. This could lead to several advantages, including improvised technical skill and also improve quality of online contents of our work. For classroom learning, classroom setting shapes of personality of student in ways that online learning platform do not, with a comprehensive set of activities that include reading, writing, speaking, listening, and understanding. All of these activities will be fully monitored by teachers so that they will give feedbacks and correct our mistakes so that we will never do that mistake again. This cannot be achieved via e-learning. Sorry to say that. Because there will be difficulties for the teachers to monitor the student 100% due to limitations of using online platform. However, classroom learning will still be able to provide its advantages or perks, such as well aware with our mistake, become more disciplined. That's the main idea, and we'll be able to manage our time wisely. So I think I prefer classroom learning than e-learning because I've experienced both of them, and I think classroom learning give me more focus on certain subject, and I think I can score on classroom learning because I will have a better understanding about that subject and can ask the teachers or the lecturers directly, not via WhatsApp or other online platform. In conclusion, self-concept and self-worth development begin in the classroom and cannot be achieved simply by learning something on a screen because it requires real-world experience. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Abdul Hazmi bin Hamdan and my number matric is 2022-981-883. I'm going to explain that how can e-learning can reduce of online education. It is common belief that online degree are lower price, which is what draw many students to distance learning. This is partly fueling the push for lower cost from campus-based institution teaching remotely during COVID-19. But do schools usually charge less for online classes? Based on my research on the internet, I checked the tuition rates at 100 university that offer online and campus-based programs to determine overall trends. And I found out that overall most school do charge less for online than in-person programs. 80% of public schools offer lower rate for online classes, and 60% of private schools have cheaper online programs. For in-state students, more than one-third of public schools charge students less to enroll online. I also check offer lower online tuition. Most students at college within person and online programs make a fair point in asking for tuition cuts. This student would also get benefit from enrolling online instead of enrolling as they normally would for in-person classes, especially at out-of-state or private school. To examine how cheaper these programs are, I took a deep dive into tuition price at 30 popular college that offer both online and on-campus degree option. When making the decision to go back to school, one of the biggest choice whether they will enroll in online college or in a classroom. Campus-based institution. While there are many different between the two types of educational experience that must be weighed, one of the biggest factor for student is the cost. Many possible students are drawn to online learning, but wonder how much does online learning cost. College tuition is rising rapidly across the board. So it makes sense that likely students are usually looking for the best deal. One of the come up is when students begin to comparing the classroom learning to online learning is whether which one is less expensive than the others. The answer for me is yes, the online learning is lower price than classroom learning. This is the picture of the comparison of online learning and on-campus learning. Next, there are 4 types of related costs. First one is tuition. The tuition, as far as the tuition-related expense are concerned, the tuition for online learning tend to be less expensive than tuition for classroom learning. This is because the maintenance cost of building and grounds are not involved here, since everything is visual. Textbook related costs also are cut down as well, since online resources are not enough to satiate the academic need of students. Thus, online learners tend to do a good deal of saving. Next is cost. Most of the classroom learning require students to pay an extra fee. This exclude the regular tuition at the time of enrolling. This money is usually used by school to cover certain expense. However, since a visual school has no physical presence, this cost is cut down, leading to the reduction of the overall expense. Also, the classroom learning pays a greater amount of fees because they are spending more time at the school. Generally, classroom learning include fees as part of the total tuition package. Students remain oblivious, but the truth is that brick and mortar programs usually assess more fees than online programs do. These fees include campus security, campus recreation, student health, athletic, certain legal service for students, and multiple organization for students. Next is accommodation. It goes without saying the accommodation related costs are completely eliminated in case of online school. Online student can be pretty much work on their visual course right from the comfort and pleasure of their own homes. Thus, they can save a big time. In the case of student learning, some students might have to live separate from their families because of the location of the school or campus. Thus, they need to spend money on accommodation. Every cost matter, no matter how low it is. Okay. Last but not least is commutation. This is where online student can save a bit yet again. Students do not need to attend physically present in any physical class in an online learning environment. They just need to switch on their computer and log in their online homeschool course to get started. As simple as that, such as Teams, Google Meet, Classroom learning, on the other hand, need to travel and reach their classes on time to attend it. Thus, they have to wake up early as well. It gets worse if the school or campus are really far from the student's home. Thus, online student can save their time, energy and money. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Iman bin Muhammad Izzat Ashraf, and my student ID is 2022765151. Okay. Flexible learning has shifted the entire focus of education in the instructor's teaching onto the students' learning. Okay. Students were previously required to simply listen in class and then memorize information for a final exam. Okay. However, flexible learning is forcing institution to rethink how students are being taught and whether this traditional method of teaching is ultimately beneficial. Okay. Online class can done everywhere, anytime, anywhere, and practically even when one is on vacation, having to step out of the home, they can manage their time for study and other things properly. Okay, online students are able to plan study time around the rest of their day, instead of other way around. They can do like that. Okay, and then they can work at their convenience, which makes balancing work for family commitments with education possible. Okay, flexible learning also provides students with full control and accountability for their learning, rather than having to show up to the class. They are able to decide and allocate time for their learning. This control not only to coordinate their education around their commitments, but to ensure that they are learning at the best time. Okay, for example, some students may not work better in evening, but traditional education may restrict them by only offering classes during the day. Okay, next, flexible learning also allows the student to decipher when and how they will learning by tailoring their course to their own capabilities. Okay, this ultimately leads them to retaining information and producing better results. Okay, they also have advantages. They also have advantage of learning at their own pace, which can help to alleviate a lot of pressure. Teachers often speedily run through concept and then follow up with a task students are required to complete. This can pressure individuals to quickly complete the task, but does not leave space for student to ask questions. If the students has not understood of the the concept of idea, they are not able to complete the task by their best. Okay, then the flexibility of online learning also allows students to slowly grasp concept and ensure full comprehension before moving forward. Okay, I think that this will lead to achieve the better grades. Okay, then every students have different learning style, but I think but traditional education does not cater to them all. Therefore, by changing the teaching styles, the way that students are being presented with information, institution are able to measure its overall impact and outcome. Okay, by providing students with liberty to teach themselves and experiment with various learning methods, the student not only becomes more accountable for the way that they are digesting the information, but it also helps to shift their responsibility onto the students. Okay, when students feel more responsible on learning, they are more likely to dedicate and work harder. Okay, next. Okay, institutions are quickly recognizing the value and impact of online learning components, and now beginning to implement them into their teaching. Okay, this not only help to keep student engaged but save times by teacher not have to allocate tasks in the classroom. Some courses expect students to participate in online quizzes and discussions aside from attending class, which can contribute to students being more interactive whilst being fully engaged in the things that they are learned. Okay, the flexibility of online learning itself allows for more self-discipline and also help students to gain life skill that they can implement within the workplace. Okay, this is something that is often neglected in the traditional education, whereby students do not prioritize self-growth whilst having to constantly attend class. Being able to demonstrate that they are acquired these skills through online learning can ultimately contribute to the student acquiring a more senior position within an organization. Okay, therefore, flexibility itself has enormous impact on the way that students are learning. So its a learning nature has completely validity. Okay, providing an individual with the option of how they can learn how they can learn is integral to their success. Okay, lastly, when you enroll online class, you will able to study and review course materials during own time. What's more, you can continue caring for your loved ones and working full time while earning an education. You won't need to commute to campus, and this reduce your money and gas. Okay, and on time also. Okay, thank you. That's all from me. Assalamualaikum.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wansarudin Haziq Saini, and you can call me Haziq. Today I would like to talk about e-learning versus classroom learning. Okay, in my opinion, I will choose e-learning because it is suited with a variety of learning style. Okay, we go to the next slide. Okay, as a student, we know every student has a unique learning experience and learning style. Some students like to study visually while others prefer to learn through audio. Similarly, some students succeed in the classroom while others prefer to learn alone or are easily distracted by a large group. With its variety of options and resources, the online learning system can be tailored in a variety of ways. It is the most effective method for creating a perfect learning environment suited to the need of each student. Everyone has their own style for collecting and organizing information into useful knowledge, and the online environment can be particularly well suited to some learning style and personality needs. For example, introvert students often find it easier to communicate via computer mediated communication than in face-to-face situation. In addition, the online environment lends itself to less hierarchical approach to instruction, which meets the learning needs of people who do not approach new information in systematic or linear fashion. Online learning environments are used to their highest potential for collaborative learning when they complement many student learning styles. Independent learners also find online courses to be well suited to their needs. Because learners have a different learning style or communication of style, online educators should design activities that address multiple modes of learning in order to improve likelihood of successful experience for each class participant. In designing online courses, utilize multiple instructional strategies. Okay, this is the most commonly discussed learning style. Okay, we go to the next slide. First learners is visual and verbal learners. Okay, these people learn best when information is presented usually visually and it in written form. In a classroom setting, they prefer instructor who use visual aids, for example, blackboard, PowerPoint presentation, to list their essential point of a lecture in order to provide them with an outline to follow during the lecture. They get benefit from information obtained from textbook and class note. These learners like to study by themselves in quiet environment. They visualize information in their mind eyes in order to remember something. The online environment is especially appropriate for visual verbal learners because we present most of the information for a course in writing. Okay, for the next learners, we call it is visual and non-verbal learners. Okay, these people learn best when information is presented visually and in picture or design format. In a classroom setting, they get benefit from instructors who supplement their lectures with a material such as film, video, map, diagrams. Okay, they relate well to information obtained from the image and charts in textbook. They tend to prefer to work alone in quiet environment. They visualize an image of something in their mind when trying to remember it. This learner may also be artistic and enjoy visual art and design. The online environment is well suited for this type of learner because graphical representation of information can help them remember concepts and ideas. Graphical information include charts, table, and image. Okay, we go to the next learners. We know it, we name it is about is auditory and verbal learners. Sorry. These people learn best when information is presented orally. In classroom setting, they benefit from listening to lecture and participating in group discussion. They also benefit from listening to audio recordings. When trying to remember something, they often to repeat it aloud and can mentally hear the way the information was explained to them. They learn best when interacting with others in a listening or speaking activity. Online learning environments can complement these learner styles. Although most information is presented visually, either written or graphically, group participation and collaborative activity are accomplished well online. In addition, with streaming audio and synchronous word conferencing into an online course. Okay, last but not least, is we know as tactile and kinesthetic learners. Okay, these people learn best when doing a physical hands-on activity. In the classroom, they prefer to learn new material in lab setting when they can touch and move materials. They learn best in physically active learning situation. They get benefit from instructor who use in class demonstration, hands-on learning experience, and fieldwork outside the classroom. Online environment can provide learning opportunity for tactile and kinesthetic learners. Simulation with a three-dimensional graphic can replicate physical demonstration, conduct lab session on campus or at student home, then discuss them online. Incorporate fieldwork into coursework by providing ample online discussion, both presenting and following the experience. Finally, the online environment is well suited for presentation and discussion of either group or individual project and activity. So, I think it is the most suitable if we choose e-learning to learn nowadays. And I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Adi Numan bin Ahmad Fuad. Today I will share my point of view on the class management challenges for teachers regarding our topic, which is e-learning versus classroom learning. Since the outbreak of the pandemic COVID-19, the government has taken many ways to prevent its widely spread all over area in Malaysia. This pandemic has affected all aspects of human life, including education. Education desperately needs proper attention and specific treatment because of the pandemic effect on school learning activities. Online learning is enforced by the government due to the emergency of COVID-19 spread prevention. Teachers and students must adjust these changes immediately. Teachers and students are forced to learning activities in virtual classroom. Online learning is an alternative, best solution for learning activities during pandemic COVID-19 as it helps the students learn in safe condition. Despite of its best solution to the pandemic impact on education, online learning opens up to any challenges because it shifts from traditional classroom to virtual classroom, which cause teachers to optimize to use of their skills in managing classroom. One of teachers' tasks is create condition in which learning can take place well. This is not easy a job, since it has to do with teachers' attitude, intention and personality, and also relationship with the learners. These items are often grouped together under the heading of classroom management as per what I stated for my topic before. Classroom management has persistently ranked as one of the challenges for beginning teachers, largely because they do not know how to deal with disruptive students. Even when in the beginning the teachers recognize strategies that should be used, they struggle to effectively implement these action in their classroom. These are ample empirical findings on how teachers manage their on-site classroom. However, only a little number of studies which investigates classroom management on virtual classroom. In traditional classroom, teachers usually explain the material in front of the class, manage seat arrangement in order rows, use textbook for the material and practice exercises. Some changes and challenges are precisely occurred in virtual classroom. From the observation data analysis above, we can see that the challenges faced by teachers in virtual classroom are when the virtual classroom starts, not all students immediately enter the class. Internet connection, limited time. The teachers can explain in detail the material being taught due to time constraint. Students turn off the camera and their sound. Students do not pay attention to the teacher, and the teacher cannot control all the students. To overcome the challenges in virtual classroom, teachers have several classroom management that is teachers always give students the Google Meet link the day before the class started. The teachers checks students' attendance at the beginning and at the end of the lesson. The teachers delivers the material to the point, providing materials to be discussed in the virtual class 2 days before through the WhatsApp class group. Give random question to students in the middle of learning so that students stay focused and pay attention to what the teachers is saying. And lastly, the teachers are more friendly with students so that the students are not too bored and still excited about learning in virtual classroom. We can see from the interview data results that there are many challenges in managing virtual classroom which are different from traditional classroom. The shifting from traditional classroom to virtual classroom has caused some adjustment for both party, teachers and students, which in case teachers should have to control over the classroom. For teachers who are used to teaching face to face, facilitating online class through virtual classroom interface proposes several new challenges. The changes can cause so many challenges for teachers, especially in managing virtual classroom. To conclude, I believe that the shifting from traditional classroom to virtual classroom has caused some challenges that must be overcome by the teacher. The result from the data analysis, it showed that the teacher had many challenges in this virtual classroom. The teachers must exert her strength to overcome these challenges by taking several steps in preparing her virtual classroom management. First, joining the virtual classroom earlier. Second, checking the students' attendance first. Third, optimizing the teacher-student interaction during whilst learning and post-learning activity. And lastly, the giving quizzes at the end of the lesson to make the students more enthusiastic in learning. And from four of the overcome, we call it as May's conceptualization model. This model consists of 3 elements, 3 stages. First, primary courseware. Second, secondary courseware. And third stages is giving feedback. It seems that the virtual classroom management initially helped the teacher to focus on managing her virtual classroom according to her needs. That's all from me. Thank you for lending your ears. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Hi, I am Nurishida Mijurisdin, and today I will wrap up this discussion of the topic e-learning versus classroom learning with my opinion. We all know that both of the learning methods have pros and cons. Here, I'm trying to focus to which that have 24/7 access learning materials and give benefits for disabled students. With e-learning, students can always access learning materials such as module contents, assignments, lecture materials, podcasts, and recorded sessions anytime during the course of their studies. For postgraduate courses, module tutors are always there to assist with any questions through emails, messages, and Skype calls. With classroom learning, be it for a school or university courses, a student has to visit the physical location to speak with tutors face-to-face during assigned hours. This can be limiting, especially for working professionals and disabled students. Why I want to focus on disabled students? This is because the average graduation rate for the students with disabilities those served by IDEA was 67.1% according to the latest data. That is 17.5 percentage points lower than 84.6% rate at which all students graduated. In other words, roughly only 2 of 3 students with disabilities graduated with a regular high school diploma and within 4 years of starting 9th grade. The other 1 of 3 took longer to graduate with a regular diploma, graduated with an alternate diploma, or didn't even graduate at all. These reasons shows us why we need to make it easier for disabled students. According to research, disabled students find online learning more appealing for a number of reasons. Online learning provides greater flexibility, allowing students to do their work when they are most capable of it, rather than when the class is scheduled. They are easier to access for students with mobility issues, who can work from their homes instead of trying to navigate inaccessible campus and classrooms. And they allow students to maintain their privacy if they do not want to report their disability. Do you know that many disabled students face frequent prejudice and discrimination? Many students with disabilities also report that they enjoy the freedom from stereotypes that online learning can offer. As one disabled student explained in an interview, quoting, "I am not in a wheelchair, but you know, people are still judging. And in the distance learning environment, I have the luxury of not revealing that I am disabled." Face-to-face classes can be very difficult, both physically and emotionally for disabled students, due to prejudice and stigma. But e-learning, somehow students have more power over how they are perceived, and their disability became invisible, offering the freedom to be viewed as a student without limits. Approximately 70% of online students with disabilities do not disclose their disability or request accommodations. Some of the students may not be aware of the support that is available, but for majority of students, they do not disclose because they want the opportunity to allow intellect, skill, and character to become their observed identity rather than their disability. As a result, it is crucially important for online courses to be designed for accessibility from the beginning, so that all students can engage with the course materials. Students should not be forced to choose between maintaining their privacy and passing a class. Building an accessible ways to study allows them to do both. By doing this, they can ensure course content is truly meeting the needs of all students and helping them achieve their desired learning outcomes. All in all, we can see both learning systems have their pros and cons. However, it still depends on how students cope with the idea of having a change in a particular system that occurs in our daily lives due to the pandemic. As we come into the consideration, and based on the proposed points, we can clearly decide which way of learning is better than the other. Other than that, we can see the gap between both ways of learning that has cause and effect towards students physically, mentally, socially, and financially. To conclude, both e-learning and classroom learning have both of its benefits and setbacks. Students need to individually cope with this change and deal with it professionally, as searching for knowledge is a necessity and that it will bring us to a brighter future as future leaders in the next few years. Meanwhile, management of the school and university also needs to play their role to give the best either way, so their students can achieve their desired learning outcome. That's all for today. Thank you for listening. Bye.